I've been sitting here, staring at this screen, for what feels like forever. I don't even know where to begin. I feel like everything has changed in the blink of an eye, and I can't even begin to process what happened. I guess I'm writing this to make sense of it all. What I did, what it means, and why I let myself get here. I don't know if anyone will understand, but I need to say it. I need to tell the whole story, so I can maybe figure out how to move on from it. It started a few months ago, when things between Ethan and me began to feel, well, stale. We've been married for 5 years, and I've always loved him. Ethan is kind, smart, funny, the kind of guy any woman would be lucky to have. But lately, I felt like I was living with a roommate, not a husband. The spark we used to have was gone. It was like we were just going through the motions, waking up, going to work, eating dinner, and falling asleep without much conversation. I didn't feel desired anymore. And for me, that was hard to admit. It wasn't that I didn't love Ethan. I did, with all my heart. But the passion, the connection, that was missing. I tried to talk to him about it, but whenever I brought it up, Ethan seemed so defensive. He'd say things like, "I don't know what you want me to say." Or, "We're fine, right?" We'd end up in these awkward silences, and I'd feel like I was asking for too much. So, I stopped talking about it. But the frustration kept building inside me. I started resenting how distant we'd become, how we were both just pretending that everything was okay. It was eating me up inside. Then one night, Ethan dropped a bombshell on me. He had this look on his face, like he was nervous, or maybe unsure of himself. He was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone when he looked up at me. "Hey, I've been thinking about something," he said, his voice almost tentative. I put down the book I'd been reading and turned to face him. "What's up?" He paused, like he wasn't sure if he should say it, and then he blurted it out. "Have you ever thought about going to a swingers party?" I swear I almost dropped my book. It felt like the room froze for a moment. I didn't know what to say. Ethan, my sweet, predictable, always the same Ethan, was asking me if I wanted to go to a swingers party. I could barely wrap my head around it. "Wait, what?" I said, my voice coming out shakier than I intended. "I mean, I don't know, I was just thinking about it," he said, rubbing his neck. "You know, we've been kind of stuck, and I thought maybe it'd be something fun to try. Just to shake things up a little. It could be exciting, don't you think?" I couldn't believe my ears. My first reaction was to laugh, thinking he was joking, but the way he was looking at me, so serious and earnest, made it clear he wasn't. "Are you serious?" I asked, still unsure if I'd heard him right. "I don't want to sound weird, but yeah," he said. "I trust you. I trust us. And maybe this could help you feel more free, you know? We've both been so tense lately. I don't know. It's just an idea. If you're not into it, I'll understand. But I want you to feel like you can explore, to feel wanted again. I think that's something you deserve." It wasn't what I expected him to say, but something about it hit me. For once, Ethan was offering me something, giving me permission to do something I hadn't even considered. He was giving me the freedom to explore, to feel desired again, without judgment. That was big. But at the same time, it felt like I was being handed the opportunity to do something reckless, something dangerous. I stayed quiet for a long time, trying to process it. I had never even considered the possibility of doing something like that. But then I thought about it some more. Maybe I did need something new. Maybe this was the way out of the rut we were in. Maybe it could bring us closer. Or maybe it was my chance to feel something I hadn't in a long time: excitement, freedom, and desire. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I didn't want to disappoint him. So, after a long silence, I said, "Okay, I'll think about it. But I need to be sure. I need to feel comfortable." Ethan smiled at me, and I could see that he was relieved. "Take your time. We don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. But I want you to know that I trust you, and I just want you to feel like yourself again." I didn't know what I was agreeing to, but I knew I had to at least explore it. The thought of being wanted by someone other than Ethan, of feeling desired, was something I couldn't ignore. So, after a few more conversations, I agreed to go. Maybe I was fooling myself into thinking it could somehow help us, or maybe I was just desperate to feel something, anything. I don't know. But I went. The night of the party, I felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. I kept telling myself that it was just an experiment, that it was just about exploring my own desires, and that Ethan had given me the freedom to do this. But deep down, I was scared. I had no idea what I was getting into. When I arrived at the house, I felt overwhelmed. The place was huge, hidden away on the outskirts of town, and it looked like something out of a movie. There were people everywhere, drinking, laughing, talking, and some were even flirting openly. I didn't know anyone, and for the first few minutes, I just stood there, feeling out of place. I had no idea how to even begin. That's when Jason approached me. He was tall, with dark hair and a friendly smile that immediately put me at ease. "Hey," he said, offering me a drink. "You look like you're new here." First time, I smiled nervously and nodded. "Yeah, I'm just, figuring things out." "Well, don't worry," he said, his voice smooth and reassuring. "Everyone's pretty chill. It's all about having fun and enjoying yourself. No pressure. You're safe here." His easygoing attitude made me feel more relaxed, and we started talking. It wasn't anything intense at first, just small talk. But the more we talked, the more I felt a connection with him. Jason wasn't pushy, but he was charming. He made me feel seen, heard, and not like some object or piece of the party, but like a person. And that was something I hadn't felt in so long. We spent the next hour talking and laughing. He was funny, but also thoughtful, and before I knew it, we were sitting on a couch in a more private area of the house. I hadn't even realized how close we had gotten. He reached over and touched my hand, just for a moment, but it felt like a jolt of electricity shot through me. I didn't pull away. Instead, I let him hold my hand. It felt good. "I've been coming here for a while," Jason said softly, his eyes locking with mine. "It's not always about the sex. Sometimes it's just about being with people who get it, you know? Who understand what you need." I wasn't sure what he meant, but I knew what I felt. In that moment, everything around me seemed to disappear. I wasn't thinking about Ethan, or about what I was supposed to be doing. I was just feeling. Jason leaned in closer, and before I could stop myself, I kissed him. It wasn't just a kiss. It was full of everything I hadn't realized I was craving: intensity, passion, desire. My heart raced, and I felt like I was falling into something I couldn't control. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to think about the consequences. And that's when it happened. It wasn't a slow progression. One moment we were talking, and the next, well, we weren't. It felt like something inside me just snapped. I wasn't thinking about Ethan anymore. I wasn't thinking about anything, but the way Jason's hands felt on my skin, the way his lips pressed against mine. Afterward, I sat there, breathless and stunned, wondering how I had ended up here. I had crossed a line, and I knew it. But there was a part of me that didn't regret it. Not yet. When I finally pulled myself together, I felt this rush of adrenaline. It was as if I had woken up from a dream, or maybe it was a nightmare. I wasn't sure which, but I knew one thing for certain. I had done something that couldn't be undone. The guilt started to creep in as I glanced around the room, but I pushed it down, telling myself it didn't matter. I was here now, and there was no turning back. Jason smiled at me, his hand still resting lightly on mine. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and soft. His concern wasn't about guilt or regret. It was about making sure I felt good in that moment. And I did, but at the same time I didn't. "I think so," I muttered, my heart still racing. I wasn't sure what I was feeling. Confusion, excitement, guilt, desire. All of it was swirling around in my chest, but none of it felt like it was the right emotion. I was supposed to be happy, to feel liberated, to feel free. But all I could think about was Ethan. Jason squeezed my hand, as though trying to reassure me that everything was fine. "It's okay," he said, his voice steady. "This is what you wanted, right? To feel alive again. To feel wanted. You deserve it." His words, though comforting in the moment, cut through me like a knife. Because in some way, he was right. I had wanted to feel wanted again. That was why I was here, wasn't it? To experience something new, to feel the excitement I hadn't felt in so long. But I had forgotten one crucial thing in the heat of the moment. Ethan. The man who loved me, who trusted me, and who had let me do this, thinking it would help us. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for anymore. Was it validation? Excitement? Something to reignite that spark that I thought we had lost? Or was it just pure escape? Escaping from the boredom, from the routine that had consumed my life with Ethan. Jason leaned in again, his breath warm against my ear. "You're so beautiful," he whispered. "I've been wanting this all night. You're incredible." I froze for a second. Those words, the way he said them. It felt like they were unlocking something inside of me. The truth is, I had missed feeling desired. I had missed the attention, the flirtation, the rush of someone wanting me. And in that moment, I realized how much I had craved that. The validation. The affirmation that I was still something. That I wasn't just Ethan's wife, fading into the background. That I was me, a woman with desires and needs, and someone was finally seeing them. I looked at Jason, caught up in the intensity of it all, and nodded. "I want this," I said, before I even really knew what I was committing to. But then, as if my words had sealed something irreversible, I felt this wave of guilt crash over me. I was betraying Ethan. No matter what I told myself, no matter how much I tried to justify it, I knew I was betraying the man who had trusted me enough to let me go. I stood up abruptly, feeling like I had to get away from Jason for a second, to breathe, to regain some sense of control. "I might need a moment," I stammered. Jason's expression softened, like he understood, but he didn't push. He nodded and gave me space, and I quickly stepped outside onto the balcony, hoping the cool air would help clear my head. I leaned against the railing, staring out into the night. I felt lost, confused, and like I had made a mistake I couldn't take back. My mind flashed to Ethan. How much he had trusted me, how much he had wanted me to explore, to feel free. He had said it was okay. He had encouraged me to go to this party. And yet, here I was, kissing another man. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I had pushed all of my emotions down too far. There was a part of me that still wanted to pretend this wasn't happening, that I could walk away from it and not deal with the consequences. But I knew I couldn't. I took a deep breath and pulled myself together. I wasn't going to let guilt consume me tonight. Not when I had already crossed that line. I had to follow through, even if it meant letting go of everything else. When I went back inside, Jason was waiting, and we ended up talking more, even as the night unfolded around us. I don't remember everything about that night, just flashes of faces, conversations, and touches. But what I do remember is the way I felt when Jason kissed me again, when he pulled me into his arms and kissed me like he couldn't get enough. The way I kissed him back, almost like I needed him to make me forget. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't stop it. I didn't pull away. I just let it happen. By the time the party started to wind down, I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. I didn't want to think about Ethan. I didn't want to face what I had done. But I knew I had to go home eventually. I had to face it. I left the party just as the sun was coming up, feeling disoriented and numb. My body was sore, but my mind was racing. I had never done something like this before. Never thought I would. I was still trying to piece everything together, trying to understand what had just happened. But the truth was, I wasn't sure if I regretted it. Not yet, anyway. I drove home, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly that my knuckles were white. The guilt was starting to sink in, but I couldn't bring myself to admit it fully. Not yet. When I walked into the house, everything felt different. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I knew what I had done. Or maybe it was the realization that my life had just shifted in a way I couldn't undo. And that's when I saw it. A note on the kitchen counter, the kind Ethan always left when he was feeling distant or needed space. I swallowed hard and unfolded it, my hands trembling. The note read, "I can't do this anymore. I'm disappointed in you. You've crossed a line that I can't look past. I trusted you, and now I can't even look at you the same way. I'm staying with John for a few days. We'll talk when I'm ready, but right now, I need space. I need time." I dropped the note as if it burned my hands. The room suddenly felt smaller, suffocating, like everything was closing in on me. My heart pounded in my chest. He knew. Ethan knew. He had figured it out. I felt like I was drowning in my own regret. How had I let it go this far? How could I have been so selfish? And then, the crushing realization hit me. I had no idea what was next. I stood there, frozen in the doorway, staring at the note on the counter. The words were clear, unmistakable, and they hit me like a slap in the face. I hadn't even had a chance to tell Ethan what had happened, to explain myself, or even try to apologize. It didn't matter. He already knew. I sank down onto the couch, my mind racing. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How had it all gone so wrong, so quickly? I thought about Ethan's face, how he'd looked at me when I told him I was going to the party. He'd been so trusting, so hopeful, like he genuinely believed this would be a way for us to reconnect. He had believed in me, in us. And now here I was, holding a note from him saying that he couldn't even look at me the same way anymore. The guilt was overwhelming. I kept thinking back to everything that had happened at the party. Jason, the kissing, the way I had let myself get carried away. It felt like a betrayal, not just to Ethan, but to myself. I had crossed a line, and I had known I was crossing it. But at the time, I didn't care. Or maybe I thought I didn't care. The reality of it was sinking in now, and I couldn't escape it. I grabbed my phone, almost instinctively. I needed to talk to him. I needed to fix this, even though I had no idea how. I started typing a message, but my fingers hovered over the screen. What could I say? How could I explain this? I didn't know how to explain what I had done, because I didn't even understand it myself. I thought back to that moment, when Ethan had suggested the swingers party. I remembered how tentative he had been, how unsure of himself, and then how he had looked at me with that mix of love and trust, as though giving me permission to be free, to explore. He had been so open, so vulnerable in that moment. I thought I was doing it for us, for our relationship. I thought I could come back to him and tell him that it was just an experiment, that it didn't mean anything. But now it felt like that had been a lie. Because, for me, it had meant something. I let out a shaky breath, my eyes blurring with tears I hadn't been prepared for. I knew this was bad. I knew Ethan had a right to be upset, to feel betrayed, but the weight of it was suffocating. I had never thought it would end like this. I hadn't imagined that I would be sitting here, completely lost, with nothing but a note telling me everything was falling apart. I looked at the clock. It was already late in the afternoon, and I knew that Ethan had gone to John's place. He'd texted me earlier that morning, just before I'd left for the party, telling me he was going to hang out with his best friend for a while. I didn't think much of it then. But now, I wondered if he'd already known what was coming, if he'd sensed that something was off, or maybe it was just the aftermath of everything. He'd seen something in me that I hadn't wanted to admit, even to myself. I tried to call him. Once. Twice. But it went straight to voicemail. I left a message even though I wasn't sure what I was saying. Then I'm so sorry. Please, just talk to me. I know I messed up. I didn't mean for it to be like this. I never wanted to hurt you. Please, I need to explain. But I knew it was too late for explanations. How could I explain this? How could I undo what I had done? I paced the apartment, trying to sort through everything in my head, but it felt like my thoughts were tangled up in 1,000 knots. I kept thinking about Jason. About the way he had looked at me, the way he made me feel so wanted, so alive. But that wasn't the reason I had done it. Or maybe it was. Maybe I had just been seeking that validation, that reassurance that I was still desirable. It wasn't fair to Ethan. It wasn't fair to us. But, in that moment, it had felt like the only thing that mattered. I looked around the living room, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like a stranger's space. It didn't feel like home anymore. It didn't feel like our space. It felt like I had lost something I couldn't get back. A few hours later, Ethan finally texted me back. His message was short, but it hit me like a punch to the gut. I need some time. I can't talk to you right now. I'm not sure I can ever look at you the same way. I stared at the screen, the words blurring through my tears. My stomach twisted with panic. Was this the end? Was this it? I texted him back, my hands shaking. Please, Ethan. Please don't do this. I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I love you. Please just let me explain. But the message never went through. His number was blocked. That was it. The final blow. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I had done. How far I had let it go. I had ruined everything. I had ruined the best thing in my life. Ethan was the one person who had always been there for me. He was my rock, my partner, and I had torn that apart. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think straight. I was consumed by the weight of my actions, the shame, and the guilt. I had wanted to feel desired, to feel wanted, but what I had gotten in return was this, a fractured, broken relationship and a man who was completely, utterly disappointed in me. I sank to the floor, the tears finally coming. I had no idea what would happen next. But I knew one thing for sure. I had destroyed something precious. And now, I didn't know how to get it back. Later that night, I finally decided to call him again. I had to hear his voice, even if it was just to apologize. I needed to apologize, because that was the only thing I knew how to do. Ethan, I said when he picked up, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end, but he didn't say anything. I didn't want to lose you. I continued. Please, just give me a chance to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. And then, finally, he spoke. His voice was so quiet, so hurt. I don't know if I can trust you again. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way. I felt the weight of his words sink into my chest. It was like a knife. And I knew, deep down, that I had just lost the one person I never wanted to hurt. The silence that followed felt unbearable. It hung between us, thick and suffocating. I wanted to say something, anything, to fix it, but the words wouldn't come. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the phone, and I could tell he was trying to hold it together. But I knew he was hurting. Deeply. I don't know what to say. I whispered, my voice breaking. Please, Ethan, please don't give up on us. There was a long pause, and for a moment, I thought he might hang up. I wouldn't have blamed him if he did. I didn't deserve for him to listen to me anymore. I had already shattered his trust, and now I was just begging him to fix it. But then, just when I thought he might end the call, I heard him speak again, and his voice was strained. I don't know what to do with this, Claire. I don't know if I can ever get past it. You asked for this. I tried to be open with you, to give you the space you needed. I thought I was helping. But you went too far. You betrayed me. The sharpness in his voice made my stomach twist. He wasn't angry, not the kind of anger I expected. No, this was something worse, a disappointment, hurt. He wasn't lashing out. He was just crushed. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I pleaded, my voice trembling. I didn't plan any of this. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could be free. I thought I could feel again, and I was wrong. But I love you, Ethan. I've always loved you. You've always loved me. His voice cracked. How could you love me and do something like this? How could you go behind my back, with someone else, and betray everything we've built together? I winced at the rawness in his words. I deserved it. Every bit of it. I don't have an answer for that, I said, tears streaming down my face now. I don't have a good explanation. All I can say is I was lost. And I was so focused on feeling something again that I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't think about you. I thought I was doing this to find something, but instead, I ended up losing everything. I lost you, and I'm so sorry. There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the phone. I could tell he was processing, trying to make sense of it all, just like I had been doing in the hours since I walked through that door. But the difference was that he had every right to be angry, to shut me out. I had crossed a line I shouldn't have crossed, and now I had to face the reality of what I had done. I don't know what to do, Claire. Ethan finally said, his voice so quiet I could barely hear it. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this. I don't know if we can come back from this. I felt like I had just been punched in the gut. My heart dropped, and for a second, I thought I might collapse under the weight of it all. I had never wanted this, to lose him, to hurt him like this. I hadn't just betrayed his trust. I had betrayed us, the love we had built over the years, the partnership that had meant everything to me. Please. I whispered, barely able to choke the word out. Don't let this be the end. I know I messed up. I know I made a huge mistake, but please don't walk away from me, from us. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this, I swear. Please don't give up. Another silence, and in that silence, I felt my whole world slipping away. I can't promise anything right now, he said finally, his voice like a knife through me. I need space, Claire. I need to figure out if I can even trust you again. If I even want to try. Those words, I need space, hit me harder than anything he had said before. It wasn't just disappointment anymore. It was the final straw. It was the realization that he was already starting to let go. Maybe he had already started to let go when he left this morning. Maybe the distance between us had already begun before I'd made the worst decision of my life. I understand, I said quietly, though it felt like I was choking on the words. I know I don't deserve your trust. I don't deserve you. But I love you, Ethan. I always have. I know, he replied, his voice distant, almost like he was talking to someone else. But love doesn't always fix things. It doesn't make up for the things we do to each other. And right now, I don't know if love is enough. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him that love was enough, that it had to be enough. But I knew that was a lie. I had messed up too badly, crossed too many lines. There was no quick fix for this, no magic words that could erase what had happened. No apology big enough to undo what I'd done. Okay. I whispered, barely able to speak. Okay, Ethan, I'll give you the space you need. I don't know what to do without you. There was a long pause. Then, softly, he spoke again. I'll be in touch when I'm ready. But right now, I can't even look at you. I need time. And with that, he ended the call. I sat there, staring at the phone in my hand, feeling the weight of his words crushing me. I had lost him. I had lost everything I had ever wanted, and it was my fault. The next few days were a blur. I tried calling him again, leaving more messages, sending more texts, but nothing. Ethan wasn't answering. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I could make things right. I kept replaying the night in my head. The party, Jason, the kiss, the way it felt to be wanted, to be desired. But no matter how much I tried to justify it to myself, I knew the truth. I had crossed a line. I had betrayed the one person who meant everything to me. And now, it was too late. The damage was done. And so, I waited. I waited for Ethan to decide what he wanted, to figure out if he could forgive me. I had no control over it. All I could do was wait and hope that one day, he would see that I was truly sorry, that I had learned from my mistake. That maybe, just maybe, we could try again. But deep down I was scared. Scared that it was over. Scared that I had ruined something beautiful, and that there was no coming back. And as I sat there, waiting for the future to unfold, I realized that maybe this was the hardest part of all. Accepting that no matter how much I loved him, I might not be able to fix what I had broken.